Okay, well, good Wednesday evening, New York Jet fans and NFL fans. December 18th, 2024, 4:12 p.m. You're watching The Takeoff. My name is Alex. First off, shout out to my mother-in-law, Kathy, on her birthday tonight. She is actually the person who had a connection for me to start getting tickets over 33 years ago, which turned into me getting season tickets. So I blame her for this, and I thank her for this. But anyway, happy birthday, Kathy. Many more. God bless. So the Jets get a win. They go into Jacksonville, a depleted Jacksonville team, another 3-10 team. Their quarterback Trevor Lawrence on the sidelines, I believe he's on IR, and the Jets pull out a victory. You can't make everybody happy. You have people complaining that the Jets won. You have people complaining that when the Jets lose. You have people complaining that when Rodgers puts up stats. You have people complaining when Rodgers doesn't complete passes. I guess the only time we're on the same page is when the team is winning consistently, and that hasn't been for quite a few years right now. But listen, I can't look at a game and root for them to lose. I just can't. Part of it is the mentality of I've seen them lose so many games that I have to root for a win. Secondly, the draft this year, quarterback-wise, is not deep at all. I mean, it's extremely shallow. So I don't think the Jets losing a spot or two in the draft will be a huge disadvantage to them. But, again, another week and more stories coming out of Florham Park. First up is the Jets have announced that they've started interviewing candidates for GM. I believe they did 2 interviews this week. Rumor is also out there that Mike Vrabel is number one on the Jets wish list. I don't know, when they will reach out to him, but there was something very interesting that was said today, and I wish I heard more into it, but I was listening to the radio, and basically Vrabel's alma mater, I guess, where he played or where he coached prior to coming to the NFL, is playing in a game on Saturday. They're not doing well, or they're not expected to do well, and if they lose, their head coach may be fired. And they're saying that Vrabel may go there. Now, that's a rumor, that's speculation, that's hearsay. Until Vrabel's offered a job somewhere and he accepts it, I believe he's on the Jets' radar. I like him. I've been a proponent, and I've been saying this all along, if we're going to go for a head coach, you go for a head coach that's been on the sidelines as a head coach. It is a whole different world when you're a head coach compared to being a coordinator. And I think Ulbrich has shown that you can't go from being a coordinator, not having head coaching ability or experience, and then taking over and running the whole show. It just doesn't work that way. He may have learned from this experience, although his in-game strategy and clock management has proven to me that sometimes I just don't think he's on top of everything. But anyway, I think Vrabel and Rex are going to be the top 2 candidates that they go after. I don't see any other head coaches out there that have been a head coach to come here. Now, they have said Aaron Glenn is doing a wonderful job, and that's fine. Listen, I saw Aaron get drafted. I seen Aaron play games. I also, and it's funny, have a picture of Aaron Glenn and Victor Green kneeling in the end zone in 1997. And I tell you the day prior to Jets Pats, where Neil O'Donnell was taken up by Glenn Foley, and the Jets came back and won under Bill Parcells. And Victor Green and Aaron Glenn, I believe Victor Green has posted this picture that I put on Twitter numerous times. So I take credit for that picture, and I'm glad they could use it. But going back to Aaron Glenn, yes, he is a great defensive coordinator. I think he's going to do very well. I think if he comes to New York, the Cinderella story, anybody watch Caddyshack, Cinderella story, of him coming here and magnificently, and amazingly and magically taking over this team and getting them to the promised land, I don't think that happens. He will be a head coach. I think he needs to, make his bones as a head coach someplace else, someplace not high profile. You got to remember, coaching in New York or playing in New York is different than any place else other than maybe LA. And not even in football. Like I'm talking about the Dodgers and the Lakers, but in football, Giants and Jets, New York media, the Bill Parcells, Eli Manning's, Phil Simms, Joe Namath's aura has something about that. And then, of course, you're in the New York market. So basically, that is why I think Aaron Glenn may be in over his head as a fan. And I'm going to say this, and I've said this to players on Twitter when I welcome them to the team, and they do this. Hey, New York, I've been drafted. I'm here for you. Listen, the fan base here, okay, is as loyal as they could be to a fault. Okay, and I'm not saying Cleveland Browns fans aren't loyal, and I'm not saying that Detroit Lions fans aren't loyal, and now they're starting to see success. But you're talking about a team who, had these aspirations with Brad Baxter and Blair Thomas and Brownie Nagel, and then getting Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and Vinny Testaverde, being that close to a Super Bowl, 98, 09, 10, and not getting there, and something always setting them back. So to come here, we are yearning for a championship. And what I'm saying is the coach comes in here has to understand what we are waiting for. Okay? We are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Aaron Rodgers getting hurt last year on opening night. People will say, I knew it. That is just the mentality of the fan, but they will be out there, okay? Sunday, we're playing the Rams. We're playing a West Coast NFC team who probably, if you look at the schedule at the beginning of the year, like, we're playing an NFC team weekend before Christmas, but, hopefully, we'll be locking up some sort of position then. There'll still be a lot of fans there. Maybe you won't get your 85 or 82,000, but you'll get probably in the proximity of 50 to 60 to go out to this game. And they will root, and they will cheer, and they will boo when they have to boo. We are yearning for a championship. I cannot stress it enough. Okay? So, again, Vrabel and Rex, I think, are on the top. Glenn would be, Aaron Glenn would be a great story to come back, but I just don't think he, is there yet. Speaking of coaches, it was released this past weekend, that Bill Belichick, before he accepted the UNC job, he called the Jets to ask them if they had any plans on speaking to him. Now, I always said, me and my buddy George always said, I want to know what happened the day after Parcells stepped down and the day that he was supposed to do the introductory press conference with Belichick when he did the famous HC of the NYJ on the napkin while he was on the treadmill. What did he see? What did he know? Now, a lot of people have said, hey, him and Woody Johnson don't see eye to eye. That's fine. And he has said that, he has never said it's Woody until now when he hasn't been a coach and he's been on the Manning cast and whatnot. He's been critical of the Jets and Woody Johnson and firing Robert Saleh and whatnot. But he has never come out and said it. But he, for every chance he had, wanted to shove it up the Jets' ass. Let's be honest. Okay? He's never not run up the score. He's never, I remember him taking a draft pick 2 spots before the Jets, or trading down to get, because he didn't want the Jets to get the pick. So the Jets always played a certain strategy in the back of his mind. 25 years, we had some early success against him. We beat him in the playoffs in 2010. But for 25 years, he had the better of us. Why would he want to come here? Now, look at it 2 ways. The joke that my cousin Mikey said to me was, could you imagine if the Jets would have hired him and then fired him after 24 hours? That would have been priceless. Look at it another way. Can you imagine if he would have accepted the job and then resigned? You know what we would look like? He would have been our head coach 3 times, never coaching one damn game. But he is now in UNC. I really thought he wanted to come back to the NFL to get the, I believe he needs 13 or 15 wins, I think, to surpass Don Shula. But he's in college now, coaching college ball. The other story that came out, and this came out, I believe it was today, Rich Cimini, who I am not a fan of, basically because he gets paid to do something that I would love to do, that many of us may love to do. And maybe when it's a job, it's a little different. I do this podcast because I love the Jets. I love to express my feelings about the team, talk about the team, and, speak about it on a broad, a broad amount of people, a large amount of people. You could do that with videos and Twitter. I'll call into radio stations, whatever. But Cimini could take something very positive and then sarcastically make a tweet or make a remark about it. And it just bothers me. It just pisses me off. It really does. So today, I'm not saying that he's giving false information. It's probably true. He said that he has spoken to people in Garrett Wilson's team, or his surrounding friends, or his camp, whatever you want to call it, and they're saying that they think Garrett Wilson's going to ask for a trade. I think Garrett Wilson is a great wide receiver. I think he could be one of the greatest that played for the Jets. And if he goes someplace else, probably one of the greatest that has played anywhere. Now, when you have Garrett Wilson win Offensive Rookie Player of the Year, obviously in his first year being a rookie, with Zach Wilson as his quarterback, he has chemistry. This year, he's had his ups and downs with Rodgers. And again, if you hear the cars in the background, I'm getting my walk in. It's nice out. He's had his ups and downs with Rodgers. He also had some drops. He's also had some fumbles. But for the most part, I think you need to keep Garrett Wilson here. I really do. In my opinion, if you're talking Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner, I think Sauce would be the one that I wouldn't mind. Not that I wouldn't mind, but I think would hurt less him going to another team. That being said, I don't think we should blow this all up. We can't blow this all up. Because I think talent-wise, we're there. I think defense, if Ulbrich would have stayed on defense, I think it's a different story. But now it comes back to, who is your QB1 next year? I honestly thought at one point, and I think it was the Halloween game. I think it was the Halloween game where I was tweeting, halftime, you got to sit Rodgers, bring Tyrod out, give a spark to this team. And it just turns out that the Jets wound up beating the Houston Texans on Halloween. And Houston, yes, they won their division, but I don't think they're going to go deep into the playoffs. They'll have that one home game. I don't think they'll go far. But I didn't think Rodgers would continue throughout the season. I thought they would bench him at one point. Supposedly, he is feeling the best he's felt now. Is he 100% or close to maximum medical improvement? That's an MMI. That's an industry term. That he is now playing where he could play at his age, and his mobility is a little better. He had a few rushes on Sunday, sliding. One slide was just horrendous. I was scared he was going to bang himself up. But he's having a pretty good damn season. He has, I believe, 22 touchdown passes, 8 INTs. Now, let's say, holy cow, that's pretty good. He threw, I forgot how many touchdown passes he threw Sunday, to Devontae Adams, which they finally, in the second half last week, hooked up. But then you have people saying, well, he's padding his stats. Well, what do you want him to do? Do you want him not to pass the ball and just run the ball? Do you want him to pass the ball and them not pick up? I don't get it. If he's out there, I want him to play the best he could, and I don't care what his stats are, if they're getting padded or not. His stats are his stats. Yes, we are now at 4-10. If we were at 9-5, even 8-6, and he has these stats, I'm saying, you know what? Come playoff time, that's going to be jackpot. But we're not in the playoffs, but he's still playing, and now he's finally playing at a higher level. I still don't see that leadership that I wanted to see on the field. And I don't think I will see that with him. And maybe that's just not him. I'm not hating him for any reason. I'm rooting for him, but I don't think that's him. They finally tightened up the delay of game issues. They finally tightened up some of the penalties. They're still one of the most penalized teams in the league. I think they're 31st out of 32nd on defense. On offense, they're up there as well. But, I really thought he'd be that, grab that guy in the face, grab him, let him know what's going on. He doesn't do that. Instead, which I see is he'll point, he'll show the guy which way he should go, or should have went. And I don't know if there's a teaching tool there or not, but I just thought his on-field presence would be a lot more strong, is the word. The presence felt. Tom Brady stepped on the field and he had high schoolers in front of him. You felt his presence. And I really thought that's what he was going to be, but he's not. Now, that being said, also, 8 interceptions. Thinking back to 8 interceptions, 4 of those interceptions probably cost us games. You had the interception versus Minnesota. You had the interception, or 2 interceptions versus Pittsburgh. You had the interception versus Buffalo. And you had the interception, I'm trying to think who the other one was. Minnesota, Buffalo, maybe those 4. Probably cost us 3 or 4 games. Again, so now we're looking at 7-7. But also, we make a few kicks and we win some games. We make a stop and we win some games. Last week, they finally had the ball. They went downfield and they scored a touchdown. Devontae Adams was on fire in the second half, picking up first downs on incredible catches and whatnot. But what got me is with a minute 15, a minute 5, something like that, Adams catches a pass, he stays in bounds, and he gets to the 1. And I turned to my daughter and I said, okay. And the commentator on the TV saying the same thing. You take the ball, you take a knee, let them call timeout. They have 2 timeouts left, Jacksonville. You take the ball, you take a knee, 3rd down. Okay, even if you lose 2 yards of play, you're back at about the 5. They use their 2nd timeout. Okay, at that point, on 3rd downs, right? So on 1st down, you take a knee, 2nd down, 2nd down, take a knee, it's 3rd down. On 3rd down, you could take a knee and now take the clock down to under 20 seconds. Maybe 22, maybe 15 to 22 seconds. You kick your chip shot field goal, and I know the kicker missed one from 40, but he hit one from 48 earlier. And hit your chip shot field goal, and then you have no timeouts and 20-something seconds left. They hand the ball off. I don't know if Jacksonville let him in, but the running back scored. I believe it was, I don't know if it was Hall or Allen or Davis, I forgot. And they go up by 7. But now Jacksonville has 2 timeouts, okay? And all they have to do, well, not all they have to do, is go downfield and score a touchdown. Now, maybe if Trevor Lawrence is in there, it's a different story. But it winds up, the quarterback throws a pick, Sauce Gardner gets a pick. He's very excited. He had family in the stands there, and the game is sealed. The clock management and the strategy there, to me, is why Ulbrich, I think, in the near future will not be a head coach. He'll go back to being a coordinator or an assistant or someplace. But I just couldn't understand that logic and that strategy. Continuing with Rodgers, his documentary came out on Netflix. I don't think I'm going to watch it. I follow him as a Jet fan, and I've said this, I'm not too crazy about him on his not political, but his personal life and whatnot. And then I believe he was on Pat McAfee, and said something. I don't know if it was on Pat McAfee, the documentary, like, I'll take any fucking criticism you want to throw towards me, but I want to know your vax status. So for those of you who don't know, vax status is, were you vaccinated back in 2020, 2021 for COVID or not? Obviously, he was not. He told the NFL he was immunized, which is his fancy way of saying, oh yeah, I got vaccinated, without saying vaccinated, but he did it naturally. He didn't get the vaccine when I believe the NFL was requiring it. Now, listen, I'm not getting into pro-vax, anti-vax, mandatory vax or whatever. But we are it'll be 5 years in March that vaccines and COVID and whatnot all became part of our vocabulary. Why he uses this as a stance, I don't understand. If I'm going to talk to him and be critical of how he plays football, his vax status or my vax status or your vax status should not matter. It's because 10 years ago, 6 years ago, those statuses didn't matter either. If you sucked or you were great, it had no reason to judge it against your decision to get a vaccine or not. So I don't like that. That's too much bullshit that this team needs to endure. Go out there and win games. That's what you're paid for. When you retire, then by all means, endorse or not endorse whatever you want. That's the way I feel. But you know what? Whatever it is, it is. I do root for him. I do think he comes back next year. Unless the Jets pick up a bridge quarterback that they feel could not replicate his stats, but maybe be that presence on the field. Other than that, there's no real bridge quarterback out there. There's nobody in the draft. People are saying Teddy Bridgewater's coming back after coaching high school. Daniel Jones will be a free agent. Brock Purdy may be cut. I'm trying to think who else. Carson Wentz. Will they survive here? I don't know. I don't know if this is what we need. I mean, I was wrong about Testaverde. I thought Testaverde was at the last quarter of his football career. But, Parcells got the very best out of him. So I don't know. I really don't know. Parcells rejuvenated Testaverde's career. I don't know. So I think right now, best bet, and without getting hit with a cap, on dead money, dead cap space, you bring him back. I don't know if you tell him, listen, he has to compete for the job or he has a job, but you bring him back stating, the new coach, because obviously there's going to be a new coach, and the Jets haven't really said anything because Ulbrich right now is still their coach. So out of respect, out of the human thing to do, you don't say you're looking for a coach. Right now you're getting a GM, which I think is the right way to go. You get the GM first, let the GM and the owner work on getting the coach. I don't think a GM should inherit a coach unless he wants to. And when the coach comes in, and Rex said this, the coach comes in, Hackett's gone, and you tell Rodgers, hey, you want to come back? We'd like to have you back. We want you to keep this gelling going with Garrett and what you have with Devontae. Maybe Lazard comes back for another year, but you need to learn a new offense. Okay, it's not going to be Hackett calling the plays. It's not going to be this other guy that they demoted Hackett for. I mean, basically Hackett is getting paid to do nothing. I don't know if he's part of the game plan or the tape segments or whatnot, but Hackett's not doing anything really. They have this new play caller there. And really, he hasn't done much either. I mean, listen, I'm not going to take away from Rodgers, guys dropping the ball, turnovers, dumb penalties on third down or what have you. But there needs to be some sort of repair made to this offense. And, I think that's the way they go. If he doesn't agree, then you move on. You don't worry. But then you may have the Garrett Wilsons or the Breece Halls say, listen, I don't want to be on this team if it's going to be blown up. Devontae Adams played for the Raiders. He didn't want any part of them. I think he comes back and is happy to come back with Rodgers. Now, the positive and the negative, Rodgers coming back. Okay, and again, I just want the best player out there. And if he's the best player, then let's run it back with him. Here's the positive. Rodgers comes back. Okay. Finally, everything clicks. Quarterback clicks with the offense. Offensive line protects the quarterback. Defense is the defense that we thought they would be. Okay. Breece Hall and the other two running backs, the three-headed monster, are what we thought they would be. Jets make the playoffs. They make a wild card. Okay? Let's say they stretch it and they win the division, which the way Buffalo's been playing, I don't see that. What happens after that? They go a wild card. They go one card deep into the playoffs. Rodgers says, you know what? We broke the streak, which he actually said, I've only been here a year, so I don't have the 14-year streak on my back. We broke the streak, and I'm tired. I'm starting to hang up my cleats. Where do the Jets go from there? Okay? That's a positive and a negative. They finally got into the playoffs. I'm sure they would get top bill. I'm sure they would get the Saturday night game for the playoffs. If it was a home game, it would be, finally the Jets get a home game in MetLife. First home game for the Jets since 2002 versus the Colts. And then he would ride off into the sunset. So it's a double-edged sword. The positive and negative is you make the playoffs, you make a run. When you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. But then if it ends there, where are we at QB1 the following year? And I know I'm looking 2 years in the future, but unless you're going to win it all, if we don't, unless you win it all and then we lose Rodgers, what is the point? Now, if we don't bring Rodgers back, we need a good stopgap, good bridge quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, I don't know. Kirk Cousins, really is not good. He showed he snapped back from that injury he suffered, which, by the way, is the same as Rodgers, only about 8 weeks later. So who knows, maybe in a couple of more weeks he'll be back. But where do the Jets go as QB1 next year? And is that the future quarterback or is it a bridge quarterback? And if it's Rodgers or somebody, how far do they get us? Not making the playoffs or getting to the playoffs, probably the same thing. You get a playoff game, the Jets made a playoff game, and then they get bounced in the wild card. And then Rodgers leaves, it wasn't worth it. When Sanchez made the playoffs in 2009, I thought, and I know my buddy George thought, we had the world ahead of us. Sanchez and Rex are going to run this league. And then the following year, championship game again, and he said, Jesus, only place else is the next step. But I remember when that game ended in Pittsburgh, I said, it's going to be a while before we get back. Look how long this year is going to be. How many changes are we going to have? And we haven't been close yet to that game. So that is the positive and the negative, running it back with Rodgers. Like I said, I don't know. I'll be happy either way if they have a plan. Listen, we have to play out this season. We have to see what's going on, where they are in the draft, which, again, I don't think the draft is a big impact. The coach and the GM that they get, I think, is just as important as who the QB is this year. And I really do think they need to bring it back with a head coach who's been a head coach before, who has the experience of running a program, and move on from there. These people, and I'm gonna end with this, that are bashing Woody Johnson. Look, Woody Johnson is trying to make decisions for this team to be successful. Now, do you think he should let the decision making be to, the experts? Maybe, but he's writing the check. So either you get on board with it or you don't. And I'm sure when he does his interviews, he may tell these coaches or these GMs, hey, I'm an active person. I'm an active owner. That's his decision. It's a decision of people who's going to hire. Okay? The one thing that I think that I'm against what Woody Johnson ever made was when he brought Adam Gase in. Because everybody knew Adam Gase was not going to be the guy from day one. Now, You go back, Woody Johnson owns the team, I believe, since 2001. Okay? He was supposed to have Bill Belichick as his coach. He didn't. He had Al Groh for a year. We came within one game of making the playoffs. Following year, 2001 season, the season was a little messed up because of the September 11th attacks. But the Jets make the playoffs by beating Oakland, which, ironically, the last game of the year was the game the following week after September 11th that was moved. So who knows if the Jets play the Oakland Raiders week 2, what happens. But under Herm, they made the playoffs in 01, in 02, and 04. He brought in Mangini, made the playoffs the first year. Second year, Chad got hurt, didn't make the playoffs. And then finally, Brett Favre got hurt late in the year, missed the playoffs by a game. Brought in Rex. Rex, first 2 years, okay? First of all, brought a new culture to the building. A little crazy at times, but also brought a winning, fighting attitude. 2 AFC Championship game appearances in 2 years, rookie head coach. Okay? I remember when we moved into MetLife, people saying, oh my God, look at MetLife. We have our own end zones. Okay, now they don't want to be at MetLife. Okay? First of all, this year, we'll go to last year. Okay? You have the defensive rookie of the year. You have the offensive rookie of the year. Okay, you bring in Aaron Rodgers. Okay, he gets hurt. That's not Woody's fault. Then they try to blame Woody for the turf. I mean, listen, shit happens. Okay, I just think Jet fans need to relax. It wasn't meant to be this year. I don't know when it'll be meant to be. Hopefully very soon. But you got to trust the process. And I think right now we're frustrated, but hindsight is 20/20. You know, you tell me 18 months ago, hey, Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the team. We're all in like everybody was, and now nobody likes what Woody Johnson's doing. You know, try to be a little rational. Anyway, got a game Sunday versus the Rams. I will try to do a video prior to that game. But for all of you, again, let's enjoy our games. There's a game tomorrow night. There's a few games. I think it's 3 games on Saturday. I'm not even sure. And then you have the Jets-Rams on Sunday. 6 wins, Jets-Giants combined, New York football. Crazy. Okay, and I don't want to hear New York football, Buffalo, New York City football, New Jersey football, whatever you want to call it, 6 wins. You're watching the takeoff. Please follow us on Twitter. At the Jets Takeoff is our Twitter handle. You can subscribe to this video on YouTube. The YouTube account is The Takeoff. The YouTube channel is at the Jets Takeoff. You can email us, thejetstakeoff@gmail.com. Send us your pictures, send us your thoughts. Give us comments on the video. Listen, I'm a big boy, in size, and I could take the criticism if you get to throw some criticism. But listen, I try to spit the truth. I wish we were, 10-4. We're 4-10. And what all we could do is get through the rest of this season. Hopefully keep a core of our offense. Hopefully keep a core of our defense. And let's see who our coach and our GM is. Have a good night. Have a great rest of your week. Have a safe week, a blessed week. However you say it. Be safe, be healthy. And I'm outside. I don't see any drones right now, but maybe it's still too early. I'll talk to you later.